All right. Wait, I'm way down here. Hold on. Let me put myself up here first. While we open it up and we get started. And I'll read my copy here. And we have a nice big announcement. Let me see. Where's my, okay, 7. My name is Charles Dobens, founder of the Multifamily Investing Academy, the creator of the MultifamilyOS system, which is the fastest and easiest way to start your multifamily investing business, and the award-winning podcaster. We'll get into that a little bit more in just a moment. My company, the MultifamilyOS, is a consulting management firm specializing in working with multifamily real estate investors all over the country to help them start their company's journey from zero to hero, from no units to over 6,000 apartment units. I've done it. The system is all any investor needs to get started in this business. My team works with you, setting up your corporate structure, your website, your direct marketing, as well as all of your business systems to make sure that you achieve your goals in the multifamily business, whatever they may be. The moment you become a client of mine, we start working for you. You're going to be assigned a team of virtual assistants hired by me, trained by me, but working for you to run your company's sales and marketing department. That's right. In the MultifamilyOS system, you get your own staff for your own benefit right at the very beginning. In addition, we're going to assign you a lead consultant. It's a client of mine who is helping all of my students to get started the right way, to make sure that they are doing it correctly and they're staying on track. So if you want to find out more and see if working with us is what you need to do, go to multifamilyos.com, click on the link, book a call. You'll get my new book, How to Own 1,000 Apartments in 5 Years by Charles Dobens. And it will be a life-changing friendship for you. And I can tell you that's one of the cool things about my business is my customers become clients, my clients become my friends, and you're only going to need me for 2 deals. After that, we're just friends. And we're actually putting together, we're having an event down there in Florida in June. We're having an event in Chicago in July. First event is going to be a mastermind, 2 days for my clients, followed directly by a 2-day training program on the MultifamilyOS system, teaching you the 3 aspects of multifamily ownership, which is acquisition management, asset management, and property management. You can see exactly how we work, how we do it for our clients. And then in July, we're going to be having a hotel to apartment conversion boot camp. We've been working on this for over a year now. One of the top converters in the industry is a member of my MultifamilyOS program. And if you want to work with somebody, he's the guy to work with. I've already invested in a couple of his deals. I'm so excited to see what he does with them. And then we're going to teach you how to do it both from the acquisition standpoint and the conversion standpoint. If you're looking to learn how to do it, this is where you want to be. All right. And then I also said that I am now an award-winning podcaster. I won the best of 2022 from the American Apartment Owners Association magazine, the best podcaster for 2022. And one of my goals in 2023 was to have a great year for podcasting. I was really going to take my podcasting to the next level because I have so much fun with it. Don't make a dime, but love doing it. And then just to get this honor for my work last year is really a lot of fun, and it's very redeeming because I tell you, it's getting the opportunity to interview people like today. I interviewed Tom Higgins of USA Terra, TERRA, and the guy made me so proud because this guy is doing exactly what I teach my students to do, and he's killing it. He's bringing it to a whole new level. So make sure you watch for that podcast. I think it's actually coming out next week. I think we've had kind of a dry spell, so I don't have many in the can right now. So I think that actually might be out next week. Tom Higgins, you're going to love it. It's going to make you think differently, which is all I want to do. All right, let's get started. 22 people on the line. Here's the thing. There is one point in here. I think it's number 2. The number 2 ways that sellers try to take advantage of you. Get ready to type in your answer, because you're going to read what I have up there for number 2 and think to yourself, what? But if you know, you know. Okay? So let's get started. Now, let me just tell you, and prefacing this, I've lived all of them. I've lived every one of these 10 ways. And we could do a part 3, 4, and 5 after this of other ways that sellers try to take advantage of you. It's what they do. It's in their nature. Don't get mad about it. Just be forewarned. Forewarned is forearmed. Learn the tricks. Don't let it happen to you. But if you don't learn the tricks and you let it happen to you, well, then shame on you. So let's go. Number 1. I was hoping Molly, who put this together for me, I was hoping she was going to go 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 10. And the number 1 reason, ways that sellers try to take advantage of you, but she doesn't know who David Letterman even is. So she didn't know to do it that way. That's all right. She does a great job. Here we go. Number 1. The sellers come up with every excuse in the book as to why they can't get you 12 months of deposits. Okay, folks, just think about it this way. This is what you're doing. You are buying a business. All you care about on any business is the cash flow, and you want to verify the cash flow. The sellers think that their baby is what you're buying, but you're not buying the real estate. You're buying the cash flow. You're buying those leases in the filing cabinets in the property management's office. The building is secondary. So when you're doing your due diligence, the 3 components of due diligence, which we will cover in stages on these live calls, the financial, legal, and physical. The financial, you get started doing at your kitchen table as soon as you get an accepted purchase and sale agreement. You start doing it, and the only way you can do it is you have to act like a forensic accountant. And if you're a forensic accountant, you must have a verified starting point. And that verification has to come from a third party. It can't come from the seller or any other party involved with who you're analyzing. You have to get it from an objective third party. And what we do is we get the bank statements from the bank to verify how much money this property has accumulated over the last 12 months. That's your third party, the bank. And the sellers will come up with every excuse in the book why they can't give it to you. Red flag number 1. Okay? If they turn it over, it's probably a very well-run business. And that's what you want to buy, a well-run business. If they can't give it to you, you've got to be very suspicious, because you can't get screwed, but you can use it to your advantage. Because if they can't verify the deposits, how can you verify what their NOI actually is? And you're going to err on the side of caution. So here are the typical things you hear sellers saying. Or you hear the broker speaking on behalf of the seller. Oh, the seller owns a bunch of properties and he just commingles the money in one big account. So he can't tell you exactly which one it shows. Yes, he can. Because if that property is owned in a particular entity like an LLC, then the bank has to be able, the CPA has to be able to go and verify those deposits if he's ever going to issue a K-1 on their behalf. So you've got to verify that. If it's owned by the person individually, ask to see the Schedule E on their tax return. because that no accountant is going to create a tax document that they have to sign off on that is unverified. No accountant will put his livelihood at risk. So whatever he gives the accountant, that's what you want to see. Another excuse you hear these sellers talking about is, oh, well, I'm not good at keeping books, but I use that account sometimes for personal things. I don't care. I don't care what you do with the account. I want to see the bank statements. I don't care who you wrote checks to. I don't care if you have a debit card that you go to, down to Foxwoods on the weekends with. I don't care. All I care is to verify the top line money coming in, the gross revenue, and I want to see it in a third-party documentation. Whatever you do with that money afterwards, I will vet it out. I'll figure it out. If it is for your private little stash, I don't care. I'll look at all the expenses that I will be paying, and I'll calculate the NOI that way. But I have to have a place to start from. And this is one of the ways that sellers always try to take advantage of you. Number two. And I'm going to leave. I've got the, let me go jump over here. I got comments over here. I wasn't watching the comments. Okay. Let's see. How to get one of those books. Yeah, Bill. You got to know somebody, Bill. Hey, Francis, good to see you again. Thanks, Vincent. I appreciate it. Thanks, Jackie. Always good to hear what you have to say. Thanks. Okay, listen. I want somebody to type in the answer to this, what this means in the chat box, okay? See if you can figure it out. If you read my book, if you see me in teaching this stuff, I always talk about the 3 zeros. How does the seller trying to screw you over when a deposit ends in 3 zeros? This is another red flag. Can anybody tell me? I'll give you 5. I'll give you time it takes for me to take a swig of water. Yeah. All right, here we go. If when you get those deposits, the 12 months of deposits, and you look at all the deposits being made, if any of them end in 3 zeros, that's a red flag. And that's because nobody's rent ends in 3 zeros. And if they accumulate a couple of rents and put it in the same day, it doesn't end in 3 zeros. So if you see a deposit ending in 3 zeros, that's an owner contribution. That's the owner running out of cash and having to cover the losses by himself. Oh, now Francis steps up and says it. Oh, wait, yeah, way to go, Francis. Yeah, teacher's pet there. No, not in this class. That's it. It's an owner deposit. And that is a red flag in your book. Why are there 3 zeros deposit? Oh, well, yeah, okay, yeah, we were short on money and the owner had to put in some money. Wait a minute. You guys are telling me that you're making money every month. Your NOI is positive. Well, how can you lose money? Then you start finding out what's really going on. All right, Francis, I'll give you half credit. And everyone else of you fails. Let's see next. How do I do? There we go. Good. Okay. Here's one. The purchase and sale states that the ability to inspect the property ends when the inspection period ends. Okay, folks. This is very, very nuanced, and I want you to make sure you understand this. Whenever you're looking, if you look at my purchase and sale contract, you have to know that I'm giving you the ability to be able to walk onto that property the day before closing and conduct a full unit examination. What most owners will say is, no, you only get to do a unit inspection during the inspection period. Well, technically, the way mine is written is you can do a unit inspection right up until the closing date, which is what I want. Because I'm going to show you something else in just a moment. You want the ability to go do a walkthrough 2 days before closing. But you want to go through all the units during the inspection period because that's when your money goes hard. But the thing is, you do not lose the ability to inspect the units after the close. I had one property, it took 6 months to close. Do you know what they didn't do during that 5-month window when I couldn't get in and inspect the units? They didn't lease. The guy owned multiple properties and he sent people down to his other properties. And they kept telling us 96% occupied, 96% occupied. When we finally got in there at 55% occupied, because we couldn't go back in and check it out. So make sure your purchase and sale agreement allows you the ability to inspect every unit right up until the closing date, because you will. All right. So that's another way that they get you. Don't let them get you. What's the number one rule, guys? Francis, what's the number one rule? You'll get the other half credit if you answer that question. All right, here we go. Oh, phantom tenants don't pay rent. Let me tell you a story. So here's a story that happened to me. And this is actually the same property with the 5, don't lose my no, Francis. That's Warren Buffett's. I owned a property. It was a 6-month close. Assumption. Bank was taking forever. Kept reporting 96% occupancy, 96% occupancy. After 30 days, always being control of the deal. Thank you, Bill. Bill now is the valedictorian of the class. Yes, yay, Bill. It took 6 months to close. They kept reporting the occupancy at 96%. 30 days after we closed, we collected 55% of the money. And I called the property manager. I said, hey, what's going on? He says, I've never seen a case of fraud so bad in my life. So what do you mean fraud? He goes, I got the proof. I can show it to you. He sends over documentation that 8 of the leases are easily determined to be fraudulent, and the other ones are suspect. And what the guy did is he owned properties in other parts of the area, neighborhood, and he whited out other leases from other properties and hand wrote in the name of our property and submitted them as being a valid lease. I thought I was buying a 96% occupied property. I was buying a 55% occupied property. It was a disaster, absolute disaster. This is another reason why you check the occupancy. You walk the units 2 days before closing, because then you can go. It's so easy. When you get the hang of this business, it is so easy to know if someone skipped on a unit just by looking around. And those skipped units are meant to be trashed out, cleaned out, made rent ready. That's what it says in our purchase and sale contract. They need to, every unit, 48 hours before closing, we get to go look at, and we take the rent roll and we walk around and say, hey, this guy skipped. Comes out, hey, we don't have the occupancy. We're not closing, because our purchase and sale says if the occupancy is dropped by more than 10%, we get to walk and we get our earnest money back right up until closing. So make sure you have these types of protections in there, so the owner cannot take advantage of you. All right. Oh, here, I love this one. There isn't a pest control problem because the pests have all moved out. We don't have a pest control problem. Well, I'm looking at your expenses, and I don't see any contract services for pest control. Yeah, we don't have any pests. I have never been in a multifamily property that did not have a pest problem, just by the sheer nature of how it works. Okay. Yeah, Bill gets a free toaster. Free toasters in my other office. Sorry. I'll send you $10, Bill. All right. Oh yeah, Bill. I invited Bill to dinner with me out to one of the best steakhouses in the country, Gibson's, I think it was. I am all expenses paid. I was taking him out to Gibson's in Chicago, and he said no. He said no. The nerve. I'm waiting for him to type in the reason. Okay, so here's the thing. Every property has a pest control. You should always see a line item on your contract services for pest control. If a property is having financial trouble, pest control is the first line item to get cut. So if you look on there and you see that they haven't had pest control in months, red flag. If you look to see that over the last 12 months, they've used 5 different pest control companies, red flag. That means that company, that property is not making money. They're cutting expenses, and it's going to become your problem. And I'll tell you something. I didn't have a clean shirt. No, Bill. No, that was not the reason. he totally shamed me too with the reason, which I said, oh, I felt terrible. Go ahead, Bill. Tell everybody why you couldn't come to the best steakhouse in the country with me. One time I was doing besides that, I'm a vegan. That's exactly the real reason. Like, oh man, guffaw. Okay, so with the pest control, I was doing a property inspection. We're buying a big portfolio, and we're down in Texas. And cockroaches, cucarachas, they were. I did one side of the property, one half of one side in the morning, and the second half in the afternoon. The property management company that we're hiring sent their guy over, and he was inspecting the other half in the morning and the other half in the afternoon. So after we're halfway through and we meet up for lunch, he says, "Holy cow, what a pest problem! I've never seen more cucarachas anywhere than before that I've ever had before." And I said to him, "I didn't see any." He goes, "What do you mean you didn't see any? Where were you looking?" "Oh, I look under the sink. I look, in the cabinets in the bathroom." He goes, "No, that's not where you look for cucarachas." I said, "Where do you look?" He goes, "Above the window sills and the door sills. When you walk into the room, turn on the light and immediately look up at those things and you'll see them." The second half of my day was the gross out period when I walked into so many bedrooms and bathrooms and I flick the light on and I see those things scurrying. Oh, it was disgusting. This place had a cucarachas problem. So that is the story with pest control. Beware of it. It's a red flag that you need to look out for. All right. They don't have keys to all the units. Red flag. So I was down in, I was working with a student. He was trying to buy a property down in Washington, D.C. Ended up being a lawsuit. 5 days before the end of the inspection period, I asked him, "Have you seen all the units?" He goes, "No, he couldn't get all the keys." I said, "What, are you kidding me?" He goes, No, we couldn't get into a couple of units." I said, No. You get into all the units." He goes, "Well, he's going to have to drill them out, and the people aren't home." No. He drills them out. He puts on new locks, and he tells the tenants, "Come see me, and you'll get your new keys," because they're not supposed to drill out and put on their own keys. You, as a landlord, you have to have access to that property at all times. So get in there and see them. Comes down to the day before. I said, "Have you seen them all?" "No, not yet." I said, "Kill this deal. Kill the deal." "No, we're going to get into them during the financing period." He never got into them. It was like a 20-unit property, 5 units he couldn't get into. If you can't get in there to see the units, red flag. You have to be able to walk into every single unit and look at it. And in this particular, what I told the guy is, listen, based upon the way you are buying this property, you're paying about $180,000 per unit. And you're not going to look at 5 units that cost you $180,000 a piece. Would you ever buy a $180,000 car without giving it a test drive? He goes, "No." I said, "Well, then don't buy a 20-unit property without seeing all 20 units. It's the same thing. You have to get in there and look at those units. Make sure that there's not what do they call those labs? Those Bill Califat will know what kind of labs I'm talking about. The ones that blow up. Meth labs. Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thanks. The meth labs. So make sure that Shecky gets it. Shecky, no, Shecky gets it because he owns property too. So I bet you he's got a few stories. But that's the thing is you want to be able to get in there and look at every single unit. There was one. Let me tell you, it's amazing how some people live. I was looking at another property down in Texas, and we couldn't get into one unit. And as we're walking down the street, the property manager sees the guy that lives in the one unit that I want to get into. He goes, "Hey, we need to get into your unit." "Oh, yeah. Listen, It's not a good time. And we don't care if it's not kept up. We just want to go in and check it for water and blah, blah, blah. He goes, yeah, well, okay, I had a party this past weekend. The Giants against the Cowboys, and I haven't cleaned up from it. Listen, we don't care. We just want to take a look at it. And the guy was like a 28-year-old, good-looking, looked like he worked in a nice office or something. We go into his unit, and it was the most disgusting unit I've ever seen. Honestly, trash clothing a foot high, all over the floor, all over the place. I could not believe somebody like that lived that way. He just didn't fit the part. Just goes to show you can never judge anybody. And there was another time that I had properties that I owned up in Michigan, and I bought these properties, and like 3 years later, I hadn't been around to go through. I said, I'm going to go and look at all the units on this property over the next 2 to 3 days so I can just let my investors know I've gone through all of them. And I remember I walked in one building, had two hoarders. Two hoarders lived in the exact same building. They had no connection to each other. One was a Vietnamese immigrant. The other one was an old elderly cat lady. They just happened to live in the exact same. It was about 130 unit property. A lot of different buildings all over the place. Two hoarders of the whole place lived in the exact same building. It was the strangest thing. But man, the thing is, I remember when I met them and like stood there in a gasp looking at their property, they both said the same thing. I'm getting ready to move. Like that was their justification for why the place looked the way it did. I'm getting ready to move. And they weren't. My property manager said it's always been like that. So it's just, it's some people, you never know how they live. All right, number 5. How am I doing on time? Okay. The seller hates Section 8. Red flag. The seller hates Section 8 because he doesn't qualify for Section 8. And you got to find out why he doesn't qualify. Maybe the Section 8 person is tough on the inspections and this guy's always getting dinged. Or maybe the property has been flagged by Section 8 and they are never going to get Section 8 on that property. So if part of your investment strategy with your investors is to take this property and get it up online and then start renting out to Section 8 people because Section 8 is paying more than what your current residents are paying, if you find out that Section 8 won't do anything with your business, your property's been blacklisted by them, your investment strategy is going to fail, and you're going to have to go back to your investors and say, whoopsie daisy. So if the seller hates Section 8, you have to find out the real reason. Don't take his word for it because he's going to tell you, oh, they're ridiculous. You can't even work with these people. Don't even try. Go down and meet with them. I've had good dealings with the Section 8 office, and I've had bad dealings, but they're people. Go down and talk to them and find out what's going on. All right, number 8. The rent roll hasn't changed since the purchase and sale was signed. This goes back to the phantom lease conversation. So you've got to keep, one of the things in our purchase and sale contract is they have to give us, updated rent rolls every month, certified updated rent rolls. And if you start looking at them and they're not moving, everything's being the same, there's nobody moving in, nobody moving out, that's a red flag. You got to be able to go back in before you close and take a look at all of those units, because what will happen, and we write this protection into the purchase and sale contract, is that if there's, every unit has to be rent ready. Rent ready means trashed out, cleaned, carpeting cleaned, painted, ready to rent, because that's what you're buying and that's what they've agreed to. And so 2 days beforehand, you go walking around like, no, this guy skipped. Hey, here's another unit. This guy skipped. You guys say that this guy's been on the rent roll. When did he move out? I mean, look at that. When did you take the fridge out? I mean, you can catch the seller in these games that they play. And once you get them out, once they move out and they haven't trashed them out, that's going to become your problem. And you're going to have to pay to have that done. And that's not in the contract. So there are ways that we can protect you in the purchase and sale contract from just this type of thing happening, especially if it's an extended closing. If you have to kick it off, that seller can't wait to taste that money at the closing table, and he's not going to want to work very hard for it. So make sure that you get in there and check every unit beforehand. But look at those rent rolls. I'll tell you, I've had some doozies at closing time when I come to find out that I'm not buying what I thought I was buying because we didn't go back and vet out all the units. All right. Next, we have, okay, here's another thing. When you're starting to negotiate the purchase and sale with the seller or the seller's attorney, there are certain warrants and conditions that will extend beyond closing. I grabbed these two particular paragraphs, 11.04 and 11.05, right out of our purchase and sale. Survival of reps and warranties. The representations and warranties set forth in this Article 11 are made as of the execution date and are remade as of the closing date and shall not be deemed to be merged onto or waived by the instruments of closing, but shall survive the closing. Okay? Indemnification. Seller agrees to indemnify defendant, whole buyer, free and harmless from and against all actions, suits, claims, judgments, liabilities, damages, expenses, and costs incurred by the buyer after the closing as a result of an inaccuracy in or breach of any of seller's representations, warranties, indemnifications, covenants, or other obligations to buyer. Okay? What that means and what's missing from these two paragraphs is the ability for these two paragraphs to ever end. Where in these two paragraphs do these reps and warranties terminate? When does the indemnification terminate? Can you tell that I wrote the paragraphs? Can you tell that I'm here to protect my clients, the buyers? If I was a seller, I would never agree to these two paragraphs. They typically have a stale date on them. They get to a point and they're done. The seller can move on. I write it up so that the seller's never going to move on. The seller's attorney is going to come back and say, whoa, 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 no way. We're not doing it this way. Okay, how do you want to do it? We'll give you 3 months. No, 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 no. You can't uncover all the possible reps and warranty breaches that could go on this property in a 3-month period. The seller wants to get it as short as possible to take advantage of you because he knows there's some things out there. You want to start your negotiation with here or at a year, 12-month warranty. Usually if you can end up at 6 months, okay, 6 months, but keep your eyes peeled for anything that could possibly be a breach of the indemnification or a breach of the reps and warranties. That's your job as a GP of the deal. How can these be amended? Kelly rolls. How can these be amended to stay in versus seller's attorneys? Well, really, Kelly, the only way, yeah, you got it. The only way is going to be a time limit. You don't want these paragraphs to come out. And they're going to try to cut it as short as possible. If they come back at you for 3 months or shorter, red flag. Get in there and negotiate, get the seller to negotiate, because it's almost as if this guy's so adamant, then he knows something that he doesn't want to share. All right? So that's another way the sellers take advantage of you. All right, biggest lie in multifamily, the biggest way the seller tries to take advantage of you, and I am going to end it here, and you all know what the biggest lie is in multifamily because you've been trained by me to understand this stuff. So I am not even going to explain any bit about this because you know what it is. And this is when I sit back and wait for somebody to ask, wait, Charlie, I don't know what the biggest lie in multifamily is. And then we all know that this person is not a member of the multifamily operating system, Multifamily OS. So who's going to be the first one to ask what the biggest lie is? I know Shecky knows. I know Bill knows. I know Zoom user knows. I know Deb Segala knows. Who else is in here that should know? Yeah, Matthew Clark. Okay. All right. Let's see. Who's it going to be? Who? Go ahead. Go ahead. Type it in. What is the biggest lie in the multifamily business, which is a way that the sellers try to take advantage of you? Hey, Molly, can you start playing the Jeopardy theme song, please? She'll unmute herself and start to sing it. Anybody? Something just pop in? No? Come on. All right. Well, let me give you an example. I think Zoom user actually, because he always comes in as Zoom user. He and I are involved in a particular deal. And I think the property started on the market for over $1 million. It's land. It's developable land. And it started for over $1 million. And, Deborah. She's such a nudge. Of course, the biggest lie in the multifamily business is the asking price. The seller's going to ask for as much as he can get. He's trying to take advantage of you. You can't pay what he wants. Evan and I have been looking at a property over $1 million. I think is what it started out. We're talking making an offer at $350, from $1 million to $350, and the guy might go for it. He actually might go for it, based upon everything that we've seen. No, Denise, not the cap rate. No, that would tying to the NOI. Down to 500, and will be open to 400. So yeah. So listen, Evan is the Zoom user. Yep, it's now down to 500,000, and the broker alluded to saying they'll be open to accepting 400. It was started at $1 million. Evan and I are going to offer 350. No, the cap rate is not the biggest lie. It is a subjective number, but it can be documented because there are transactions being made. There is a solid NOI, so you can figure out the cap rate based upon other numbers. But I guess, I see these people throwing out cap rate. If the asking price, so you can't manipulate the cap rate. That's set by the market. That is not set by mere mortals. So you can't manipulate the cap rate. You can manipulate the NOI. And that's where Daddy Warbucks makes his money. And if you don't know who Daddy Warbucks is, you haven't read the book. You know the book. Nothing bad can happen. Oh, Bill, that's true. That is a true statement. And boy, I had a great dinner, a lunch the other day with a new member of the Multifamily OS, and he's a broker, and he was telling me some of the deals that he did and some of the crazy offers that he put in there, and he just made money because he made offers. You'd be amazed at some of the stories that he was telling me. It's great. I'm new. Denise, you're not new. Come on, you've been around for a month, 2 months or so. You should have been devouring all that training. So, all right, I'll give you a break. But I love Denise. Denise met with my LC, my lead consultant, Jeff Kelly, the other day. I got a chance. Jeff and I are meeting again tomorrow, but we got a chance to read your notes, Denise. Very cool. Very cool. I'm so looking forward to working with you. That's going to be a blast. So, hey, anybody have any questions? I'm coming up with 4:40. This is good. This is not meant to be an hour. This is just however long it takes. I've got my story. I think you guys gave me some great topics for upcoming events. If anybody has anything in particular they want me to talk on, I will be, open to suggestions, but this just about does it for this week's Facebook Live. If you're not a little exactly. If you can't hang your head in shame after making your offer, you've offered too much. That was said by the great, I I knew the guy, his first name was Steve. I can't remember the other one. Says it all the time. I forgot who. If you're not making offers and this is just an expensive hobby. Yep. Right now it's getting expensive for you there, Evan. We're going to make an offer next week. Well, I'm going to be in Florida next week. I'm going to the IMN. Let me see if I can get it right. IMN Distressed Assets Conference. I'm going to go down to Miami. Let me see. IMN's Bank Special Assets Credit Officers Conference next week, because I see the huge opportunity in this business the next year to 2 years is going to be on properties that will not be able to be refinanced upon maturity of the loans. Capital calls for certain deals. That's where we're going to be able to pick up some deals. I'm going down there to figure out the systems and the ways that we can systematize the process for finding those, and I can bring them to all of my students. That's the key. That's getting in front of everybody else to make sure that happens. So, all right, cool. Great to see all of you. Thank you so much for showing. And I'm signing off. Charles Dobens, the award-winning podcaster. I'm going to keep saying that all year long until they name somebody else. I said, and then I'll be the past one. Yep. All right, guys. Good to see you all, and we'll talk soon.